Okay, so tell me more about TDCJ before we get started.
They called this morning and said that they were not making him available.
But no other reason?
No. And he does want to be present.
Well, I mean, if we were having a final, it would be a different situation.
Yeah.
It's a review hearing. So I obviously can't fix TDCJ today. Doesn't mean I'm not going to follow up on it, but we'll go ahead and proceed today. Were you in contact with anybody in particular, Ms. Kopp?
Miss Lee.
Would you mind to email that information to Rachel?
I will do that.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Your Honor, Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I don't see my client.
Zona Miller.
Miss Miller and Zona Ramsey.
Okay, I have them both.
We can proceed with Miss Ramsey.
Okay.
Delinda Ebling, attorney for the mother, present and ready, and she is present, I believe.
Laura Cobb, attorney for the father. I am present and ready. My client does wish to be here, but was not permitted to by the state of Texas.
Well, specifically, he wasn't permitted by his unit at TDCJ. Okay.
Stacey Grant, attorney ad litem for the 3 children.
Texas President Asa Cochran,
Okay. All right. And let's see. Okay. I think we've got Ms. Miller connected now. We do. Okay. What do we have new since the court report was filed?
Yeah. Okay. So new since the court report, all 3 children do have their psychological scheduled. And since the court report was filed, Irene was released from prison, which is really good. And they've been able to start visitations, and those are going really good with the girls. They get very excited to see mom. Mom gets very excited to see them. There has been a little struggle between placement and mom, just communication, and just in general, it's been a little aggressive from Irene's end. But other than that, girls are doing really well. They're very excited to start school. The girls will be going to camp this week. And other than that, there's no news. They're all doing very well.
All right. And just so I don't forget to ask, there were some inconsistencies in some of the, as far as between reports. The department's report, or St. Francis's report, said that father was in the Dalhart unit. CASA's report said he's in the Beaumont unit. Which unit is he in?
He's in Beaumont.
Okay. All right.
Judge, they are waiting for a bed at a halfway house on him. He was supposed to get out a while ago, but they haven't had anywhere to place him, is my understanding. So we're just waiting for a halfway house for him to get released to.
Okay.
But hopefully sometime this year.
And Your Honor, I would ask my client to give the court an update on the placement and their licensing situation.
The licensing situation, they were licensed with, I can't remember what it was called, the agency, but they sued Lone Star. And then they were not, I can't remember what the issues that we're having with Lone Star. And so they had to switch to a new agency. And so they went to Arrow. And they have since become licensed. We got all that paperwork done and filed. And so it's simply just one of those waiting periods of they've been licensed now with Arrow. So they were licensed before with Lone Star, and they had to switch over with Arrow. And they've been licensed with Arrow since then.
They got licensed with Lone Star in March. So we're almost at the complete 6 months.
Okay, Ms. Miller.
And Zona can start the PMC with PA process.
Okay, Ms. Miller, yes. You were breaking up really badly. We could not catch.
Oh, really I can tell you what she was saying. So she was saying that they were licensed in March with Lone Star. And so they're almost at the 6 month period. So I'm going to be beginning the PMC with PCA paperwork soon because they're almost at that 6 month part of being licensed.
And I guess, Your Honor, before we do that, we need to set a final hearing. The department will be filing for modification.
So where are the children actually placed? I mean, where geographically?
They are placed in Muleshoe, Texas.
Okay. All right. And where's mom living now?
Mom is in Dickinson.
Okay. All right. And is she completely done with TDC? Everything? Is she on probation, parole? I mean, what are we looking at?
I'm on, this is Irene. I am on parole. I'm in Dickinson at an Oxford house.
Okay.
I actually am looking to go closer to home. There is an Oxford house in Lubbock, and I actually see parole today. So I'm going to see if we can transfer my parole from here to over there. I am on a curfew ankle monitor, but I did receive a job yesterday. I start over here. So, and it's at McDonald's, which they said they can transfer me to anywhere in Lubbock at any store. But I am still on parole until March of 2026.
All right. How long will you be living in a halfway house?
Well, this is an Oxford house. It's a 3/4 house. It's not a halfway house. It's a democratically ran. Everybody, we pay rent. And there's no time limit here. You can stay as long as you stay clean and sober. And they have like rules, you know, and we have meetings and stuff and house meetings, and we go to NA and AA and stuff like that.
Okay. What's their policy about having children?
They have one in Lubbock that actually I can have the kids with me. I have been here already 30 days, so I could have the kids come. I can have people stay the night for 3 nights a week. I can go out and stay out 3 nights a week. We do random drug tests here, just like we do with parole. And I can have the kids stay up and out. If I have the kids here, they can stay until midnight on weekdays and until 2 on the weekends. That is our curfew hours.
They can't live there.
Yes. The one here in Dickinson, no, but the one in Lubbock, yes.
Okay. All right.
So that's why I'm trying to transfer back to Lubbock.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Your Honor, right now she is working, I believe, 2 part-time jobs, and that's allowing her to pay her rent where she is. Obviously, her goal is to eventually have her own place. She'll have to save some money to do that, but that's her goal. I think Irene can probably speak to the tension with her parents better than I can, but I think there's some things that Irene has talked to Zona about and has been told that the grandparents will not allow it. And the department is the conservator, so I think those are things that can get worked out, but I think that's the source of some of the problems. Obviously, she would like to have more visits, but that's going to be when she gets closer. And to Ms. Ferguson's comment about modification, we are also going to file a motion to modify. Her goal, Irene's goal, is to have the children placed back with her.
Okay. All right, Ms. Kopp, any update on Mr. Sandifer or Mr. Garcia?
Just that he is kind of in a holding pattern, waiting to get out of TDCJ because they haven't had a bed for him at a halfway house.
All
but he
right.
is happy with current placement and wishes for the children to stay there.
Okay.
And I do have one other thing, Your Honor, when you get a minute.
Yes.
One thing Irene would like to get started is counseling. I would like to see her referred to Dr. Peggy Skinner in Levelland. Dr. Skinner does most of her therapy online, so that would make it much more convenient for Irene to do wherever she is located, and that's been very successful with my other clients. They don't have much trouble setting those up.
We would prefer, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We would prefer to not use Peggy Skinner. We've really had some trouble with her lately. She's not doing actual Zoom calls with her clients. She's doing phone calls for about 10 minutes. And we think Irene would benefit more from a therapist. We can get one set up for her in her area that's in person. She'll have a courtesy worker assigned, or we can get a therapist such as Holly Waddell or Cynthia Bowen Burns that's going to actually do the face-to-face online visitation, but we would really prefer to not use Peggy Skinner. I don't think it's beneficial at this time.
Well, I won't necessarily argue the point, but I would be happy with Cynthia as well.
Okay. All right. Well,
I just don't want to have a lot of interruption in services by requiring her to be face-to-face with someone, and then she moves and has to start over.
All right. So is that a compromise? Can we agree on that?
Yes, we can agree with Cynthia.
Okay.
And that's good. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Ms. Grant.
Judge, I'm fine with either of the therapists, whichever the court prefers, obviously. The children are doing well in their placement, but I do agree that the grandparents may have been kind of feeling that they had maybe some more say-so in placement than they should have been discussing with the kiddos, but I think that could be easily navigated. The kids are doing fine. They're healthy, happy, taken care of. And if mom can get her services done, and I'll see these modifications obviously coming through and what everybody wants, but I was unaware that she could have the children where she is. And so that's something obviously that I would have to look into, but they're doing well for now, and I'll just wait and see those modifications come through. But I would recommend continued placement with where they are, and the new agency with the grandparents seems to be getting them where they need to be.
All right. So placement is maternal grandparents, correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be double check. I thought that was right, but I wanted to be sure. All right. Okay. Acosta.
Okay. I was unaware of most of this, but my last visit with the girls, just a minute, was on 6/15, and I was supposed to see them this week. My understanding was that Irene was still in prison and that she had a scheduled Zoom meeting with them about a week ago that she didn't show up for. They are doing well where they are. I'm supposed to see them this week, probably this afternoon or tomorrow. And they seem happy and doing well where they are. They're good in school. I can't really speak to like visitation or going with Irene. I know that Sylvia has some reservations about that, but you know, the girls have been with her for 3 years, and she's just worried about their having to go through any of this again. But yeah, everything sounds good, and I'll talk to them this afternoon or tomorrow.
Sorry, Judge.
Sorry.
Sorry, Judge. I just wanted to say, if I could just ask Stacy if she could do some correspondence back at me in April.
Ashley, we can't, I mean, we really can't hear you. It's very hard to understand you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's very it's very muffled.
Okay, I'll send it in the chat.
All right. So for the record, Ms. Taylor, her chat says if we can just please get correspondence from Stacy, please.
And I don't know what that means.
Ms. Castillo, maybe it'd be best if you just put an email out to everybody in the case. All right. She just says we've tried reaching out via email and phone and haven't gotten any correspondence.
Is she saying from me?
I think so. You're the only Stacy that we have here, I think. So anyway.
I can check my email and see if we've missed an email or something.
Okay. Well, y'all can just communicate. All right, then today I'm going to continue the department's permanent managing conservator, and I will continue the children's current placement. I think, I think we are required to continue with some visitation and access between the children and mother. If we hit any rough patches and we need to involve, therapeutic contact, then we can certainly do that. As with regards to setting a final hearing, I don't have any live pleadings on file, so I'm not going to set a hearing till I got pleadings. So whenever everybody files their modifications, then, certainly everybody can request a setting at that point in time. My inclination would be, I'm going to set it far enough out that you all I probably would order you to mediation. And at least attempt that maybe. So, anyway, but I'm not going to set a hearing on something I don't have live pleadings on. So, so for now, our next review hearing will be December 13th. That could be turned into one possibly, but right now that's just set as a review hearing. Okay.
Your Honor, can I just cover one more thing?
Sure.
I would ask Ms. Ramsey to update the court with the new services that she has asked Ms. Dominguez to do, and then I would ask the court to review those services and order those services at this time.
Okay.
On that note, when I talked to Ms. Ramsey yesterday, after my visit with the kids, I'm gonna have to get Delinda to send her all the completions that I did while I was in TDCJ, my parenting and all that. She says they don't have them again, so I have the original ones. I can send them to her, but also I know my attorney has them too. So if she can if I can get my attorney to email them to y'all can have them.
And I believe I filed a bunch of them.
Yeah, she said they went, St. Francis was everything on electronic, so they don't have them. So I need to get those back to her.
I'll get them. I'm sorry. I'll straighten that out.
Well, yeah,
okay.
But Ms. Ramsey, can you tell the court what services the department is asking Ms. Dominguez going forward?
So we are requesting that she, like we said, goes to individual counseling and completes her NAAA meetings. She says she's going. I have asked for a sign-in sheet, any proof that she's going. I have not received that. And I'm not saying she's not going. I'm just saying I haven't received proof of any of that. As well as her, like we said, her counseling. I'm looking at the family plan right now. One of the big ones is her release of information. That's not a new thing that we've asked for, but I have not received a release of information. And I told her yesterday, and I've told her before, that I'll need a release from her parole officer to, hear about the drug test and everything that's going on with those. I need a release of information from her sponsor to get an update on how she's doing in her 12-step program as well. And I'll need a release of information from the counselor when she starts going, as well as her, like we said, I haven't received anything in regards to her BIP training. So her batter's intervention programs. I haven't received anything from her parenting classes, and I haven't received any proof of anything. I haven't received any check stubs or pay stubs, that she's employed. And like I said, I'm not saying she's not doing any of these things. I just haven't received any proof or evidence that she has done these things.
Okay,
so
hold on. It's very unclear to me whether we're talking about now things in the past, or are we talking what Ms. Ferguson wanted you to go over? What I need to know is, what are we expecting her to do from this point forward? I understand if you didn't get verification of those things from her original service plan, we want those, so we're not asking her to do those things again. So, do we have a crossover here? Because I'm hearing past and present.
Yes, there is a bit of a crossover. We would like her to continue to maintain her sobriety, which would mean going to NAAA meetings, which she is doing. And then, like Zona said, we want her to attend individual counseling and get recommendations from the counselor. And she is working some services through the parole officer. And so that's why we're requesting a current release of information for the parole officer. And for the I'm sorry, I just blanked, and for the sponsor to make sure that they're actually going over those things.
Right.
And then if the counselor recommends co-parenting, not co-parenting, I'm sorry, family therapy with the girls, we would recommend that as well.
Okay. So when you're talking about BIP and parenting and all those other things, are we saying we just want to get the certificates from what we think she did previously?
Yes, right. I'm just asking for those certificates and all of that.
Correct.
But as far as this service plan, it's the individual counseling and any follow-up recommendations. Mm-hmm. NAAA meetings with those logs or proof of attendance, release of information for parole, sponsor, basically anything she's doing through TDCJ right now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. That's what we have for the current. And of course, to maintain sobriety and maintain contact and appropriate housing and, I mean, all that other stuff that we always have to do.
Your Honor, we'd also be asking for the ability to ask her for random drug testing. We know she's testing for parole, but when it comes to evaluating whether or not children can go into her home, we would ask for the ability to ask her to take a drug test.
Okay.
And I'd like to clarify how we're getting the releases. Is St. Francis going to send those to her? Paroled may have their own form, I realize. And Irene, can you ask for that today?
Yes, ma'am.
I've already sent me
Wait, guys, come on. We got 4 people jumping in at once. You all know better. All right, who is the question for Ms. Ebling?
I was asking Irene if she could get a release signed today when she goes in.
Yes, ma'am. Zona sent me a paper yesterday, and I have it printed out, and I'm going to take it in. And I meet with my sponsor this afternoon, so they're getting those out, and I will send them back to her and let her see them, and I'll also send you a copy.
Okay.
Okay. So I want this to be very clear. We want her to do individual counseling and any recommendations from that. Attend NAAA meetings and provide some login information, sign in,
yes,
proof of attendance. The release of information for anything that she's doing there with TDCJ, including release for talk to her sponsor. The ability to randomly drug test, which quite frankly, Ms. Dominguez, we're probably not going to need to do for right now, but your circumstances may change and your living situation may change, so we may need that in the future.
And that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Maintain sobriety, appropriate housing. They want your paycheck stubs. At least periodically, yes. They want to make sure, yes, you are working.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. It's not that it's such a factor right now, but do you have access to transportation or will you?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
The house that I live in, there's it's 8 of us actually. 4 of us have cars, and so we all, if we need a ride, whatever, we just put it in our group chat and we'll get a ride.
Okay. When you leave that facility, do you have your own personal vehicle?
No, I'm working on that now that I have another full-time job here at McDonald's to get a little vehicle.
All right. I'm not going to make transportation necessarily a requirement at this point, but I will just tell you, at some point.
Yes, ma'am.
Talking about serious reunification with the children. I mean, having a vehicle is pretty darn important.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm not going to necessarily mandate that right now.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Does that cover what we're asking her to do right now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then. I'll continue the department. Permanent managing conservator, continued placement. Our next review hearing will be December 13th of 2023.
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready with Zona Ramsey, Permanency Specialist, and Dakota Miller, Supervisor, both from St. Francis Ministries.
Linda Ebling, Attorney for Tawny.
Okay, and I said we're spread out over the Panhandle. We have no idea where Miss Ebling could be. She might be in Bora Bora or Antarctica. One never knows.
I'm in Dallas. I wish.
What do we have new since our court report was filed?
There's not a whole bunch of news. The only thing is that Lacey Barker and Cameron Taylor recently became licensed, so they became a TFC through BEAR. And so hopefully in about January, they'll be at their 6-month mark. But other than that, Tawny's doing really well. She's had a few anxiety problems recently, but Lacey was able to really help her like rein it in and kind of adjust to that. And she's been doing really well. I mean, she started powerlifting. She's doing really good in the home.
Okay, great. Because we want this to work. So, Ms. Barker, you know, bless her heart, we've been dealing with Tawny for a long time, and you know, from everything I've read, sounds like you're doing a great job with her. And you know, whatever we need to try to help you guys with, give you, to support you, to make this successful, you know, please ask.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Miss Ebling, anything to report?
No, Your Honor. I think they're probably going to be getting their attorney here pretty quickly. I know I talked to Katie Klein the other day. They were actually having a session when Lacey and I were messaging, and that's going well. So she's had a good relationship there. They're doing, I believe they're doing family therapy with a different therapist and then individual counseling as well. So I think they're doing all the right things, and I think the sooner we're all out of their lives, I think that will help a whole lot. I know Tawny's been in the system a long time, and that wears on a kiddo too. So
sure, of course it does. We just want to be sure we're here long enough to support this, you know, placement and potential adoption, and
yes.
You know, get it done and make sure everybody's good.
And I think they've indicated they will continue with therapy even after the department is out of it, just because it's helpful. That's something that they all need and want to do.
Great. Okay, Ms. Parker, anything you all want to add today?
No, ma'am. I do have Tawny with me here.
Okay. All right.
If you can see her, I don't know why my camera is so blurry, but
no, that's okay. Hi, Tawny.
She's halfway awake.
It's still, you know, in the summertime terms, it's still early for kids.
yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad everything's going so great and good to see Tawny. And so we will get back together on December 13th of 2023, and that'll be a 9:00 docket. So until then, we'll continue the department permanent managing conservator and continue placement.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. You guys have a...
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready with Permanency Specialist Donna Ramsey and Supervisor Dakota Miller. Both from St. Francis Ministries, sorry.
Stacy Grant, Attorney ad litem for Vivian and Tori.
And we have CASA present. Correct? Okay. What do we have new since the court report was filed?
So Vivian is in New Jersey with her intended adoptive placement. They are doing absolutely wonderful there. They're ready to get things moving and going along with that adoption process for her. And I don't really have any news besides she was going to day camp and it's going well and they're ready for that adoption process. For Tori was in a step bed and was recently moved last week to a more long-term foster home with Lakeisha Fulcher. I hope I'm saying that right. And I will be seeing her Friday morning at 8 a.m. to kind of see how it's going. But for now, Tori says, you know, she likes it. And Lakeisha says she's doing wonderful and she's just kind of adjusting. But I mean, other than that, they're both kind of doing well. Tori seems to have really adjusted very quickly to Lakeisha and her family. And Vivian and her family are just ready to get that process moving.
Okay, great. Do we have any idea about Vivian's you know, when we are expecting the adoption?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may. So we have everything ready for Vivian's adoption. We were having, Mr. Perone and I were having a little bit of trouble with the attorney that he first hired. The attorney wasn't wanting to do the paperwork until he was paid. Anyways, they have switched attorneys. They're now with Miss Dickerson. Miss Dickerson's firm did just experience a great loss. And as soon as they recover from that, I know that they had reached out to your court coordinator trying to get it set for today, the adoption, but weren't able to. So I'm sure she'll be reaching out any day now to get a date. That's all we need for Vivian is just a adoption date.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I'm happy that Tori seems to be adjusting quickly and well, and that's very good news. All right, Ms. Grant.
Pretty much the same report as Dakota. I was kept in the loop regarding the change of attorneys and the necessity. And I have not received from Ms. Dickerson's office an affidavit of ad litem concurrence, but if they will send that over, I'll sign it or I'll draft my own, whichever they prefer, if it's needed for the adoption. Dakota had kept me aware about that. We discussed that. And then on Tori, everything seems to be going well. I haven't gotten any bad reports on her, and we're just hoping that she'll settle in even more as the days go on. But I would recommend that the adoption be approved as soon as possible. Obviously, we don't control that. I didn't know Ms. Dickerson's firm had a loss, so I'm sorry to hear that, but I'll wait to hear from her. That would explain the affidavit that we haven't done yet. But that's the only updates I have.
Okay. And Casa.
Vivian is doing well in placement. We are excited for her to be adopted by her current placement. And as far as Tori, she's doing okay. We're just hoping she gets placed back in a near area. But in that she's in a good placement, that'll help her thrive. That's really all we have on Vivian and Tori at this moment.
Tori's in Lubbock.
Oh, she is in Lubbock. Okay.
Yeah.
I will for sure let Isaiah know that. Thank you, Dakota.
Yes, and I just want to say, so I've worked with Miss Fulcher. Of course, Tori and Vivian's previous foster parent, Miss Farah was amazing. But I've had placements with Miss Fulcher before when I was a local permanency worker, and she is a very patient soul, and I think it'll be good for Tori.
All right, sounds good, and I hope that this is a place she can land for quite some time. Okay. All right, then we'll continue the department permanent managing conservator continue placement, and I'll see everybody back on December 13th. We're here today on a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and by agreement of the parties.
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready with Paige McNeil, who is the former permanency specialist on this case, and Supervisor Heather LeQuay, supervisor with St. Francis Ministries.
Okay. Well, I've reviewed the court report. How are we doing? She's in Houston, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How's Katie doing?
She's doing pretty well academically, medically. We are having some behavior issues with her smoking cigarettes and asking for vapes. That is currently being addressed, and we are working with the case manager down there with Ascension CPA office. And the new permanency specialist taking over the case for me is well aware of the situation and is ready to tackle that on as well.
Okay. She's in a foster home, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other kids are in this home? Do we know?
I believe there's 3 other kids, 2 or 3 other children.
Okay. All right. She get along with them? And
yes, it's little tiffs every now and then, like, typical roommates and people sharing their own space would, but there's been no major issues with any of that.
Okay. All right. So long term, what are we looking at?
We are working on getting her put on TARE to hopefully find an adoptive family, because our permanency goal right now is unrelated adoption.
Okay. Has she been on TARE yet?
No, ma'am. We are currently in the process of putting her on TARE.
Okay. And she's willing to consider adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So where she's at right now is not even a potentially adoptive placement?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other issues we have going on?
No, ma'am. That was the only issue that became to my attention yesterday. So it's a recent issue.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we just work with her the best we can with that. I guess it just kind of comes back to the fact that she's kind of always been easily influenced. So, okay. All right. Well, if nothing else new, then I guess we continue her current placement and continue the department as permanent managing. How long before we have her out on tear?
It should not be very long.
Have we done pictures and all that?
I do have pictures for her. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, all right. Let's hope that we get it out there and start getting some interest. So, okay. We'll have our next review hearing then December 13th of 2023, and that'll be a 1 o'clock docket. And if anything changes before that, y'all let me know.